Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how you can rewire your brain for an unstoppable future that you could go create that's full of focus and clarity, especially using your gifts and superpowers. And I know as a parent and entrepreneur, someone who's worked in that corporate world before, like many of you, that having that clarity and focus and that unstoppable future is something that gives you so much more drive and motivation to keep going every single day. And so it's important for us to unpack this and be able to gain that clarity. Now, I know I used to believe that clarity was something that would have it should be coming to me at some point, right? Like it's just going to happen. Maybe one morning I wake up and like a light switch, all of a sudden it just hits me. Like I would know what I needed to do with my life or the changes I need to make. But the truth is that day, that type of a light switch moment of clarity, it doesn't come. It never came for me and it never will. What I really had at that point, waiting around for that sort of a thing was I had scattered attention. My brain got stuck in this loop of comparing myself to everyone else, looking at what they had, where they were going, and I had no idea that I could actually just train my brain to lock in on my own gifts and my own superpowers, my own story and my own impact, and be able to make big changes in my life without having to redo everything, without having to burn everything down or start from scratch or go find myself in the woods. And so that's what we're diving into today, how you rewire your brain for this unstoppable focus and clarity by recognizing that you literally are the only person on the planet that has your mix and combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences, which means that you are the only person who can bring the impact that you're here to make. Hear me when I say that. There are people waiting for you to realize this and start making an impact in their lives. I cannot stress this enough. You're the only person that has that combination of things. No one else in the world. The billions of people that exist, you are the only one. And there are people out there waiting for the impact that only you can make in their lives. And so I want to dive deep with you into this with you and really help you to see how you can move forward with it. Now, if you're new here, welcome to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake. I always like to tell everyone, glad you're here, glad you joined me. If you're back for another video, welcome back. Good to see you again. I'd like to frame it up with a couple of questions or things that maybe paint a picture that you might see yourself inside of. Have you looked around before and have you ever thought, man, everyone else seems to have it figured out. Well, my brain feels like it's, got 47 browser tabs open or whatever, which is funny because I actually have 47 browser tabs open. Or maybe you're feeling hey, I know I've got these gifts and these talents and I just can't seem to focus long enough to do anything meaningful with them. I can't find the right path, the roadmap that gets me there. Or maybe you've thought hey, I'm caught up in what everyone else is doing that I've completely lost track of myself as a part of that. I've got so many things on my to-do list. I've got so many roles and hats I have to wear that I just don't know. I don't know where I align and my gifts and superpowers align in all that now. And if that sounds like you, then just hear this. There's nothing wrong. You're not scattered in any way. You're not behind. You're definitely not. It's not that you're out of the ordinary or whatever. What you're dealing with is this. There's a uniqueness blindness that people get. And it's when your brain's been trained to look everywhere but inward, missing the value that you bring to the table. And I get it because maybe as a parent, you're buried in the logistics of your family needs, wondering if maybe those gifts matter anymore, or you're the entrepreneur stuck in the comparison cycles, comparing yourself to other businesses and forgetting why, your way was special in the first place. Or maybe even you work in a corporate role and you feel invisible or replaceable or another cog in the wheel, nothing you do matters. Now, the truth is it's not that anything's off or broken or distractions or whatever. Your brain's just running on these survival programs that it has. And the good news is those programs can be rewritten. And so as we unpack that, we're going to be diving into a lot of things that come from my book, The Giver Method. I'm Jake Talbert, and I'm the author and founder of this book called The Giver Method. It came out last November. It immediately became an Amazon bestseller, has tons of 5-star reviews. I'm going to put a link in the description where right now you can go get it for as little as $2. I highly recommend you go get it. It helps you to uncover your gifts and superpowers, create impact and influence and value in people's lives, have better relationships, live a more fulfilled life, make a greater impact. It's insane what it can do for you, all for $2. So either pause the video right now, open your Amazon app and go find The Giver Method by Jake Talbot, or use the link in the description to go get it for yourself. Like I said, you can get it right now for as little as $2. Everything we're covering is grounded in this, and I wrote it from my perspective and my story, which is a lot like yours. I've walked a similar path. I'm a parent of 3. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've worked in that corporate sea of cubicles. So I get it. I get where you're coming from with all that. So everything in here, action items, exercises, are meant for people like you. Now, I know I've lived this sort of an idea before, what we're talking about today, that being in that fog and how I get to that focus point. You know, I'd bounce between all sorts of ideas. I would compare myself to others, other parents, other businesses, other coaches, you know, and you know, that I would see out there online. I convinced myself, like, man, I was just one of thousands out there. Like, why would people, you know, want to come work with me? What I didn't realize is a part of all this was, like, I had this unique mix. Like, I have this unique mix of, I did comedy for 15 years, my business experience and leading entrepreneurs in tech and system and software, and being married for 20 years, you know, having 3 boys, and the setbacks I've had, the failures I've had, like all of these things, like my ability that I could do, like, this is exactly what people need. They need this combination of things that I have. And what felt ordinary to me is actually irreplaceable to other people. And so that's the breakthrough that I want to share with you. Once again, this isn't about like some weird motivational fluff or anything. Like, there's actual like neuroscience research that shows that when you practice daily attention and training your unique strengths, like using those, you rewire your brain to be more focused. And actually it's more focused in less, like, it's, I believe the number, I can't remember, it was like 6 to 8 weeks that you can completely rewire your brain to be more focused in that way. And the kicker is, like, people who take the time to train their brain this way actually like see their irreplaceable value that they have. And so I want to change that for you today, walk you through these brain rewiring principles. There's going to be 4 areas we're going to focus on that I've used to help parents and entrepreneurs, employees just like you, move from that scattered comparison, you know, phase into like laser focused clarity about the impact that they can only make. Once again, they're not mindset tips. Like, these are all backed by data, research, and science. And no, it's not about chasing some rare gift or waiting for the world to applaud you. It's about finally seeing your combination that you have. Like, you're the only person that has it, and how to use it with focus and intention. Like I said, it's all grounded in the Giver Method book. Once you rewire your brain, you recognize and develop like your value, and you can stop chasing other people's paths and start walking your own with clarity and confidence. It's amazing what it will do. So grab a copy. Like I said, get the link down in the description. Get a copy off Amazon, The Giver Method. You can also visit thegivermethod.com for more details. Follow us on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, under the handle of The Giver Method. And maybe you're like, hey, Jake, this all sounds great, but I'd kind of like someone to walk me through the process themselves. Well, we've got some one-on-one coaching available to you. Possibly soon, there's going to be some programs, some just, you know, one-off courses that you could go buy as well. They're not available yet, but coming soon. And so if you want, check out the link below about the one-on-one coaching. There's a video on there that describes it. You can learn more details. You can join the newsletter list, learn more about when certain courses come live, things like that. You know, just check it out. I've got a few coaching spots available, so like check the link if you wanted to check that out. Of course, if you have a community, a podcast, an event, or some sort of a stage where you think your people would benefit from this type of a message, then let's talk about how we bring it to your people. There's a link down below for that. So, and of course, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, like the video, and comment what's resonating with you as we go through everything. So with that, let's just dive in and begin rewiring your brain from scattered like comparison mode to unstoppable clarity. And so the first one, what I want you to think about is like, we need to rewire your brain to see what only you can bring. So this is, you know, think of it this way. It's the wake up to your own like one of a kind combination. You know, and it's what we teed up here in the beginning of the video, you know, and it's a shift that will change things for you. Most of us run on comparison mode, you know, and I'm sure you've felt that drill before. You're scrolling online, constantly measuring, constantly thinking like, well, they're doing better than me, you know, so maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe look at what they're doing with their family. Look at that vacation. Look what their business did. You know, meanwhile, your brain is overlooking what makes you you, what makes you so unique. And the truth is, nobody, and I mean nobody, has your exact like natural gifts and live the exact experiences and have the hard-earned skills that you have. Not similar, not close, unique. You are the only person, damn it. Like, if I can't stress it enough, you're the only person that has your things, and you're the only person who has walked through life the way you have, with the struggles that you've overcome, the lessons you picked up along the way. And that combination, mathematically in the world, is one of a kind. And I know that there are people out there that need that exact combination of things in their lives. But here's the trap. Because it feels normal to you, your brain dismisses it, especially as you get into survival mode of being, you know, where you've got more on your plate as a parent, as an entrepreneur, or someone working away, like more to-dos, more tasks, more checklists, whatever. Like, you dismiss it. You know, you think like, well, it's easy for me. Anyone could do it. You know, it's nothing. It really is. Like, no, it's not. Like, these are the very signs that you have this gift, and what feels super effortless to you like is impossible for other people, but your brain has been trained to filter that out. Instead of highlighting, you know, highlighting yourself, it's highlighting everyone else's real. And that's where this problem comes in. So let me give you an example. Like for years, I had this natural ability to take really messy and complicated business problems and really simplify them. That's why I work with entrepreneurs and their systems and processes outside of helping people with the giver method. But because it became so easy to me, I just figured it wasn't valuable. And I'd look at other, consultants, and they throw around the jargon and these fancy frameworks they had. And I was like, man, maybe I need to do that. But what I didn't see at that time was like how rare this exact mix of things that I had, all the pieces of the puzzle of how I can talk to people, how I can think on my feet because of comedy, the timing, the storytelling, the corporate experiences I had, the real world experiences, plus like the ability to teach in really simple human language. Like there's this intersection of all those pieces that's irreplaceable. I didn't see it because I was too busy trying to like copy what other people were doing. So here's what I want you to do to start rewiring your brain as a part of this, how we start to see yourself in this way. So grab a piece of paper, open up a note app or whatever, and we're going to try and create 3 columns of information. In column 1, it's like you're going to be putting your natural gifts, the stuff that just feels effortless to you. In column 2, I want you to focus on like your big life experiences, both wins and the wounds that you have. What are the goods and the bads? What were the triumphs and where were the struggles? And then column 3 is your knowledge, your skills, everything you've picked up along the way. Picked up great sales training in my corporate world. I picked up great customer service experience working in a small business. I picked up some work ethic as I did this, so whatever those are, put them in there. Now, look where the things overlap. That's where magic is going to really start to live. Maybe your mix of empathy and financial struggle and budgeting knowledge, and like, boom, you're the one who can help like a stressed family in a way that a financial advisor or generic coach never could. Or maybe you're analytical thinking, plus you're really creative and you're a leader through like hard times. Like that's a completely unique style of leadership that no cookie cutter leader or person with an MBA can ever touch. Now, here's where you really start to notice it. Like you track these, what are referred to by a lot of people as these signature moments, okay? Which those are the times that someone says like, I don't know how you do that, or that, hey, you have such a unique way of handling this. Like, hey, man, you make it so easy for me. Like those aren't just throwaway compliments. Those are really like flashing neon signs pointing you towards your unique combinations in action. And so write down, find 3 of those moments from, let's say, the past month or so. What were you doing? Which gifts showed up? What life experiences shaped how you handled that? Which skills were you leaning on? That's your fingerprint. That's your irreplaceable value that you bring. And this matters a ton because when your brain keeps scanning for this comparison, you're always going to feel behind. You're not going to notice the value you can do. But when you retrain your brain to see this uniqueness, you tap into what is often referred to as like this authentic energy flow, which means instead of bringing being drained by trying to keep up with other people, you actually feel energized because you're finally operating in your authentic lane. Tons of data out there that covers this, all sorts of things that help that say when people recognize and articulate their real value, like they're more likely to be promoted in their jobs. They're more likely to have successful launches of businesses. They're more likely to have better relationships with their spouses, partners, kids. But more honestly, the real win is like waking up with that deep and grounded confidence saying like, hey, no one else can do it exactly like I do. And that's exactly why I need to show up today for the people closest to me. And that takes us into the second area, which is training your brain to shift from comparison to contribution. So how do we flip the focus? This is where most of us will get stuck. You figured out you've got something unique in you, and your brain won't stop pulling you back into that comparison mode. And I'm sure you know what I mean. Like you're scrolling, you see someone crushing it, and before you even know it, like your mind goes into that, like, man, why am I not there? What am I missing? Maybe I should be doing what they're doing. How do I get what they're doing? Like, and just like that, your focus scatters. And you're not in your lane anymore. You're mentally trying to drive in 12 different highway lanes at once. And you can't do that. And so that's that mental drift that starts to happen. And there's nothing broken or lazy about it. It's just the way that your brain is wired through repetition to approach these things. And so we want to change that. Every time you compare, your brain lays out pathways, inside, these neural pathways that make it easier to go there again. Now there's good news. Your brain, it can, like that programming that's there, it can be rewritten. The technical word, I believe, is like neuroplasticity or whatever. Like, and really, that's the sciencey word that, like, hey, your brain can change. It shows that whenever you're constantly consistently in some sort of a direct, trying to direct your attention, that's where your brain builds its strongest pathways, is wherever the focus is. And so you keep feeding comparison. It's scanning for ways that you're behind. But if you start redirecting it to contribution, okay, how does my unique mix of talent, skills, gifts, superpowers, experiences, how can I use that to help someone today? Well, now you're building a whole new mental highway. And so let me give you a real world example. Like there's a person I worked with who was a mom of 3, and every morning she found herself like scrolling through Instagram, like trying to find these perfect family moments, the spotless home with coordinated kid activities. Immediately, she always felt behind, like she was failing, but that was just her brain being on autopilot from comparison. And so here's what, she actually had. She had a gift for creating like real life systems that work for messy and unpredictable families. Like she walked through raising kids with different needs. She learned like what it was like to work under pressure. She could make overwhelming days feel manageable. And that was a really one of a kind combo. And so here's what she did. Here's what, the type of thing you could do. It's a great example is, catching yourself comparing. What she would do is she would ask like, well, how is my experiences going to help me just like one overwhelmed person or parent today? And then like write down whatever the idea is. What's that one thing I can do to help this in, like, think of it in that way in your own perspective. Like, what could I do? How could I help? And then write it down. That way you don't go into these shame spirals. Your brain is literally rewired for contribution rather than comparison. And that shift, it leads to all sorts of things. It could lead to you making changes in how you show up as a parent, as a spouse. It could change to your launching a business or different types of offers or different career opportunities that you're looking for. So here's what I want you to do. Think of it, it's the redirection protocol. Catch yourself in the comparison. Like no judgment, just notice it. Like, okay, I'm in that mode. And then ask, like, how could my unique combination of gifts and experiences and knowledge help one specific person today? And write it down and make it concrete. And then the biggest piece, and I talked a lot about this in my video yesterday, is you need to take action within 24 hours. You have to. But that's it. It doesn't need to be a big action. Like, it could just be a message. It could be a share. It could be a quick piece of encouragement or solve a small problem for someone in your world. Like, just little bits by little bit. Like, every time that you start to redirect, you're firing up these new pathways in your brain. Like the more reps that you give, the stronger those pathways become as a part of that. People who practice this kind of like a redirect, like they're always going to improve their focus, and it happens rather quickly. And pretty soon, instead of your first thought being like, oh my gosh, they're ahead of me, like you start getting into that, like, how do I add value right where I'm at right now? Even if it's busy schedules, overwhelming, lots of tasks, you could still find ways to show up with your gifts, superpowers, and experiences in ways that to the people who are around you. You just do it in the way that you're already doing it right now. And then the third area you want to focus on, you have to turn your brain to see and really step into the next level of yourself, like who it is that you can become. So this is like find your future self and lock it in. Because this is where it really does start to get exciting for you. Like until now, we've been talking through like reorganizing what makes you unique and pulling your focus back out of comparison. The next step is about pointing your brain forward, training it to look onto the version of you that's operating from a full capacity. Not some fantasy version, not some perfect day version that will never come. Like I'm talking about the real you, the authentic you, but leveled up with your gifts fully developed and in play every single day. And the wild part is that like the neuroscience that's out there backs this up. There's this thing that they call the perspective memory formation. That's the really technical way, but essentially it's like when you regularly imagine your future self in detail, your brain starts quietly rewiring itself to make decisions that line up with that version of you. You literally start acting like the person you're becoming. Now here's the catch. It can't be vague. If you just visualize success, being happy, your brain has nothing to work with. You've got to make it feel really specific. What's that specific combination? How am I going to use my gifts and my experiences and my hard-earned wisdom in ways that I'm able to give back, create value, and show up authentically? Well, that's going to give your brain a target. And so if you break it down, like if your mix is empathy and organization skills and maybe navigating family chaos, like your future self isn't just successful. Your future self is a person who's developed those exact gifts to create systems, to bring peace and order to families who they feel like they're drowning. Or let's say you have like analytical thinking, you're great at communication and years of some sort of industry experience. Like your future self isn't just like promoted. Like you're the leader who helps teams make smarter decisions because you see patterns others miss and you explain them in ways that gets everyone moving in the same direction. And you see the difference there? It's not just promoted. It's not just that it's not that you're just successful, right? It's specific, it's grounded, and it's all about being in your lane. And so here's how we talk about training your brain to do this. Like, so once again, future self check-ins. I love these things. Each morning, take a few minutes, answer to yourself like, okay, if I had fully developed and expressed my unique combination of gifts and experiences, what specific impact would I be making? And write it down. You know, talk about the people you'd be serving, the problems you'd be solving, the results like your mix would create. You know, and make it real and connected with what you already have and what you already know about yourself. And so it might be like, hey, my future self is, taking my gift of simplifying complex things and turning it into systems that actually help other parents who are overwhelmed to run smoother households. You know, my own struggles of like empathy and organization, like, combined with like to make solutions that make it real for people, not just Pinterest boards. Like, and then this is where you can then take those sort of ideas of like whatever you're telling yourself. Like I said, your version will be yours, but like once you have a vision of whatever it is, use it to filter your daily decisions. If someone's asking for your time or attention, rather than saying just yes, pause and ask like, does this move me closer to the future version of myself? Does this develop or express my unique combination at a higher level and help me to get there? Sometimes the answer is no, and that's okay. You don't have to do everything. Instead, like, you can point people towards your zone of genius. Like, hey, that's not really my lane. But like, if you ever need help with whatever, like, I'd love to jump in here. And that's about protecting your energy and staying locked in with what only you can bring. People who practice this kind of like future self visualization, like, actually make better decisions. Their brain filters out the noise faster, and it helps them stay on track with where they're going consistently. But beyond like any sort of data or science out there that could prove that, like, what I've seen is like when you get clear on your future self and keep checking in with them, then you build that identity momentum, and suddenly your actions flow out of who you're becoming, not just who you've been, or what everyone else is doing. You stop reacting, you start living forward, and that's a place of just sheer joy and excitement. And then the last area I want to focus on is like, okay, it's all about stop waiting and start moving. Like, action creates clarity. I did tons of stuff on this in the last couple videos, so I'm not going to dive as deep into it, but action creates clarity. The map appears when you're in motion. Version 1 always outperforms version. Like, there's so many different tropes we could say around this. Most people, like, they need to hear this, but they, it's not something they always expect. Like, clarity doesn't come from sitting around thinking about it. It comes from doing things. You have to do things, from moving, from putting your unique mix of gifts and experiences into play, even if it feels messy and even if you're not sure. Like, don't fall into that perfectionism trap. Most people wait for that perfect clarity before they take any sort of act or whatever. And the way your brain works actually says to do it the other way around. When you act in alignment with your unique combination, your brain literally starts wiring itself for more clarity. That's the action clarity loop that you're going to start to create. And how it works is like you take a step that expresses your the value and the irreplaceable combination you have, and your brain gets feedback like, oh, that worked. Or hey, I just tried the thing, it didn't land, it didn't work. Every time you do this, your brain strengthens its circuits like towards your gifts and weaknesses, and the ones that are tied to doubt or compared to like, we need to move past it. Your brain like learns way more from experience than it ever does from theory or book. You can think about your gifts all day long, but the moment you actually use them and see their impact, your brain goes, hey, that's real. It matters. It creates value. Now, action, like, it has to be aligned with your gifts, not some like generic busy work. It's not going to random networking events or copying someone else's strategy. Like, that won't cut it. You have to take really small steps that express your blend of skills and experiences and perspective. And so what you want to do in a very practical way is like, first thing is like daily combination expression. Like, pick one small action that lines up with your mix that you could do each day. Find the way that you could pepper that into your day more and more. If it's clarity and analytical thinking, maybe help a teammate turn some messy data into a story people actually care about. If it's like, let's say it's empathy and organization skills, maybe you could build some simple checklist that takes the stress out of someone else's project. Or if you've got technical know-how and communication, maybe you explain something complex in a really plain language that the team finally gets and can start to do things with. That action could be a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes conversation. It could be a short email. It could be a tiny system build, whatever. Size doesn't matter. It's the alignment that does. And then the fun part is once you take those steps, you start noticing the feedback. What energy feedback are you getting? You feel energized? Do you feel drained? Like, what's your brain telling you based on where your gifts naturally thrive? What's the impact feedback? Like, how do people respond? Do they thank you? Do they ask for more? Do they share it with others? Like, once again, that's proof your contribution matters. And then opportunity feedback. What doors are being opened? Do you get new requests or collaborations or connections that start flowing your way? That's clarity showing up in real time. That's how momentum builds. You know, it might be, you know, the next, you organize the project with one person, you know, or the next week when you introduce yourself to someone who has exactly what you need, like, or you explain some tricky concept, like suddenly you're asked to lead a train, like what, like every little action that you do, it will compound to bigger things. Your brain starts connecting the dots, like, okay, when I act with my unique combination of gifts and superpowers experiences, good things happen, people respond, I feel more alive, not drained. You know, and once again, this isn't to be designed to be like some sort of motivational talk or anything. There's tons of data out there that shows that people who take regular, like, identity aligned actions, that they see they see a boost in clarity, they see an increased confidence in a matter of just weeks, because action creates data, data creates clarity, and clarity guides smarter action. That loop that's happening. Now, the bottom line is, like, stop waiting to feel clear before you move. Just start taking action. There are people waiting for you. Clarity isn't something that, you know, you think your way into. It's something you act your way into. And as we bring this all together, wrap it up, like, the thing I want you to walk away with, that clarity and focus they're not going to show up for you one day suddenly, like maybe when life slows down. When you finally stumble across some magic formula everyone else has, like, that's not how it works. The breakthrough comes the moment you realize your brain can actually be retrained to focus on these things. All that scattered energy, all that comparison, all that, like, why can't I be more like them thoughts, like, that's old programming, and it's programming that can be rewritten, that you need to rewrite. Everything we covered today, these areas that we talked about, like, they're not just nice ideas. They are true systems that your brain needs to shift gears, like spot the uniqueness, redirect the attention, lock in on your future self, move into some sort of action. Now, the good news is you don't need to do it all of these things at once. Just pick one, whatever hit the hardest today, stick with it, repeat it, because every time you catch yourself drifting into more comparison mode, instead of choosing to focus on your unique mix of gifts, you're laying down a new, like, you're changing your wiring. Like, well, let's focus on the gifts, let's focus on the impact, let's focus on the value and what you have that's irreplaceable, because that will rewire your brain. Over time, pathways grow stronger until, like, focus and clarity feel like second nature. And I've been there, that foggy, scattered, like, doubting, you know, place, doubting everything I had to offer. You know, I thought maybe it was who I was, but learning, like, that it wasn't permanent. It was just programming that could be rewritten. Like, great, then if I can rewire my brain, trust me, you can as well. And so here's what's true. Nobody has your exact combination of gifts, superpowers, experiences, and perspective. Nobody in the world. That means your impact is, like, that you can make, like, isn't optional. It's irreplaceable. Like, there are people out there right now waiting for you to bring what you bring into their lives. So let's make sure we make that impact. Now, if this connected with you and you want to dive deeper into it, that's where you want to go get yourself a copy of the Giver Method. Like I said, link down below. Get it on Amazon for as little as $2. You can also check out thegivermethod.com. Like, there's all sorts of things, like, you know, frameworks and exercises you could learn about rewiring your world to make these sort of things doable. You know, and it's specifically for people who are parents and entrepreneurs, employees just like you. Now, if you want someone to walk alongside you as a part of that, that's where we talked about, like, you know, how we help you get past the scattered thinking and find your gifts and really start to step into this more fulfilling life. Then check out the coaching program below, or sign up for the newsletter at givermethod.com so you can learn about our courses that we're going to be launching soon. Of course, if you lead a team, run a podcast, an event, have some sort of a community where this message would make a difference, let's talk about how we bring it to them. And then before we head out, hit subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, like the video, and comment the thing that stuck out to you. What's the thing you want to put into place? You know, remember this though, your brain is built for unstoppable clarity. It just needs a little retraining. The only question left is, like, are you ready to start rewiring it? Because your future self is waiting, and honestly, so are the people who need you the most right now. So start taking action today. With that, I'll just say have a great rest of your day. Feel free to check out the other videos on the channel. Keep an eye out for our future videos that get released. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you real soon.